All right, so transfer portal for Notre Dame, because I want to get to Vince's thoughts on the Tommy Rees thing. I think quarterback is a need. I was sent a DM today of a kid from Dartmouth who's a really good player at Dartmouth that's in the transfer portal. I would try to reach out to a kid like that and let him know, like, look, yeah, you can compete. I mean, if you come here and you're just flat out better than everybody else, yeah, we're going to start you, but we're not bringing you here with the thought of you're going to start.
And I have no problem with that.
Right.
Where I would have a problem is if they go get a kid who
Bo Nix
is going to want to start.
Right.
I mean, because I'm not making any promises to that because I think the starter's already at Notre Dame.
I'm not only not making promises, I don't want that competition.
Right.
Because I'm all for competition, but number one, you've got two really good quarterbacks that need the reps. And if you bring in a third guy that needs the reps, you're taking away from those other two kids.
Exactly.
Develop the two kids you have, bring in somebody for depth.
Like, look, if you want to come here and get your master's at Notre Dame and you want to, be a part of the football program and you want to be a part of this culture, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? But that needs to be understood.
And if you're just flat out better, then we'll play you. But you're not coming in here getting equal reps with the other two kids.
Right.
Now that's going to make it harder to get a kid. I get that. But that's why you should have handled your depth chart a little bit better in the first place.
Correct.
I think that wide receiver at this point in time needs to be it. And people said if everybody comes back, Notre Dame is fine. It's not that easy because number one, they're not fine. Because receivers also need to be part of the scout team, right? So I mean, you need depth. Notre Dame likes to be a 3-receiver offense. You need at least 3 guys at each position. If everybody comes back, they would not have that. They would have Joe Wilkins, Kevin Austin, Avery Davis, Braden Lindsey, correct? They would have the 3 freshmen. That's 7. And then because they didn't sign a Maureen Walker, they'd have 8. But you don't have enough for a 3 deep, okay? And then beyond that, you have 2 kids, if they all come back, 2 kids coming off of severe knee injuries in Avery Davis and Joe Wilkins. You don't know if Avery Davis is going to be good by fall camp. He got hurt in November.
Right.
You don't know that he's going to be ready by August. And when is he going to get back to full speed? We don't know the answer to that, right? And so there needs to be some protection there. Joe Wilkins was already a kid that had a little bit of trouble with separation and things like that. He was a good, solid player, but now he's coming off of a knee injury. We don't know how that's going to be. Right. And then Braden Lindsey has his own. So you could say that they'll be fine, but that's assuming everything goes perfectly. And when was the last time that happened anywhere? Injuries are a part of the game of football. And so that's why depth is there. Now, at the same time, if everybody comes back, there's not a need for someone to come in and be a guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. It's a depth piece.
And the guys in the transfer portal, it's like, there aren't a whole lot of 60-catch, 1,000-yard guys in the transfer portal. Now, let's say Marvin Mims goes, from Oklahoma. I'm just using him as an example because it popped in my head because I'm thinking about a kid that was originally committed to Stanford. So there's probably a good chance he's academically oriented. Let's say he enters the portal. That's a kid you look at and say, because with all due respect, that kid's better than who we have now at that position. You always look at that. That should always be part of the conversation. The reason they say, well, you just said the different – I don't think there's a quarterback out there that's better than Tyler Buckner. I think there's quarterbacks out there that have more experience than Tyler Buckner. I don't think Spencer Rattler's better than Tyler Buckner. I think he's more experienced than Tyler Buckner. Same thing with Bo Nix. Same thing with Keaton Slovis. First of all, Keaton Slovis is incredibly overrated. Number 2, the next time he goes to a season without getting hurt is the first time he goes to a season without getting hurt. Okay, you don't bring that. That's not the kind of kid you bring.
That's not the kind of guy you want.
No, it's not. It's not. And you don't run an offense that fits what he does, in my opinion. So but anyway, go ahead.
Since you went back to quarterback, I just want to address this real quick. Why quarterback though? We have 4. Can't forget Ron Jr. First of all, he's the 3rd, or is he leaving? He's not a depth piece for you.
No,
he's not.
A depth piece is someone that if his number's called can go win you a football game.
But Ron Paulus couldn't win high school football games.
Okay.
It's just a fact.
Okay.
That's a fact.
That says a lot about his high school team. Okay. When I was a junior, we went to the state semifinals. When I was a senior, we went 3-7 because our coach sucked. Okay. I'm just making the point that the fact is he doesn't have the skill set and my view and in Vince's view to be a starting quarterback at Notre Dame to win you football games.
Correct.
Okay. That's the fact of the matter. And I'm not going to say what I was going to say because it's going to come across as mean, and I'm not trying to be mean. I think I've heard nothing about good things about Ronnie as a kid. Nothing but good things about him as a kid.
Me too. Absolutely.
He's just not a Notre Dame caliber player,
right?
And not a guy, especially as a redshirt freshman,
who didn't practice even one time this season. Like he wasn't dressed one time all
Did
season.
Even by the end of the year, he wasn't
He
practicing?
wasn't dressed the other day when I was at practice.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, again, that's no fault of his own. He was injured. He had a foot injury, I do believe. But again, he's no experience whatsoever, even at practice. So that, again, that's just not a place where you want to go.
I think the only other position is here's the thing, Notre Dame, there's a couple positions that Notre Dame may need to look at if they lose players. If they lose Isaiah Foskey, I would at least keep my eye open for an edge rusher. I think there's a need for depth there. If Foskey comes back, you're okay. If you lose him, I would say you need to look there. Vince, the other position I would look at is safety.
That's the one
and
sticks out to me.
If there was a corner that was in a Caleb Evans type of corner, I would look there too. But
elite has to be elite, because
like that guy is the best player.
Because Notre Dame has depth. You don't need a depth piece at corner right now,
or safety.
You need somebody that's going to come in and start on day one, and a legit starter on day one. Not
early in the season, Vince. That's not the story. Early in the season, safety is a place where you needed a guy to come in because you didn't have numbers.
Right.
What we have to remember is the story has changed since you moved Ramon Henderson and since they moved Ramon Henderson and Xavier Watts. So to your point, you're spot on. Those are positions where I'm only bringing in a guy if he's a dude.
Right.
That is it.
That's it.
There's no need for depth there. Same thing with offensive line. You know, look, if a kid wanted to transfer here to play tackle or guard or center, and he was like, wow, I can't believe that kid wants to come here. He's a future first round pick. Would I consider bringing him in? Yeah, I'd consider it. I'd have to be really convinced though. You know, safety and corner is a little bit different because there's a lot more uncertainty because we haven't seen a lot of these kids play. Or if a kid wanted to come here like Nick McLeod, I don't know if I'm bringing in Nick McLeod this time. You needed him 2 years ago.
You did.
I don't know if I'm bringing him this time. If there's a guy that's like a Cam Hart caliber player that wants to come in and Caleb Evans, yeah, that guy I'd consider.
Right.
So those are really the only positions where I think right now the portal is necessary. Now, if they lose players, then
we have a different discussion.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know, I completely agree with that because we don't know what those
left or a running back gets hurt in spring ball.
Right.
Now you need to look at the transfer portal for a running back because you don't have the depth. But right now, with where things stand at running back, bring back the kids you have and you're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, at all these positions, I'd be open to any position if you have the numbers for a kid that wants to come in and say, hey, look, I just want to come in. I want to battle. I want to compete, but I want to get a master's degree from Notre Dame. If you have room for a kid like that, I'd be open to it, assuming you don't have walk-ons of your own that you want to give scholarships to. Like Michael Vincent got one today, which was pretty cool. I tweeted, I said, look, Michael Vincent didn't get a scholarship because he's just a cool story. This kid's been a really good part of the special teams the last 2 years.
No doubt.
And the thing I said was, have you heard Michael Vincent's name the last 2 years in the game?
Nope.
And that's exactly what you want from a snapper.
That's what you want.
You don't ever want his name being mentioned because that means he is doing his job every single time. And that's obviously been a big thing. So huge props to Michael Vincent for getting that today. But that's who I'm taking care of first are those kids. If I'm just bringing a receiver in for depth, I'm giving Matt Salerno a scholarship first. Then I'm going to see if I have one for that guy. If I'm bringing in a receiver, it's because it's, you need the numbers, but you're going to bring in somebody to compete. That's kind of how I would look at it. But